Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing fine. I hope you are healthy and safe and sound. So today's course is about how to settle guest bill in restaurant or restaurants in general. So as you can see clearly see the title, we're going to see how to pay the bills in the restaurants. What are the procedures being done on the part both on the part of the waiter and the guest, or the client or the customer, as you want, okay, as you like, as you wish. So we're going to see the steps and the procedures. Okay, these are some basic steps. So guest calls for the bill. Waiter goes to the cashier and instructs him to total the check by the table number. Cashier calculates and totals the guest check, including service charge, and hands the check to the waiter. Waiter double checks the bill and places it in the check folder. Waiter approaches the table and stands straight to the right of the guest and presents the bill in the folder. Waiter waits for the guest to examine the guest check. So after the client or the guest or the customer in general finishes his meal, or okay, what he or what she does, um, so he or she calls for the waiter to ask for the bill. The bill, it's the amount of money the customer, okay, has eaten, for example, or okay, is charged with. And the waiter goes straight to the cashier to instruct and to tell him what is the amount of, okay, what is the amount of money that that guest is required to pay. So and then he goes to, or okay, the guest goes there, or the waiter comes to the guest and they pay the bill. So these are some basic steps, but we're going to go into details later. When guest pays in check, or sorry, when the guest pays in cash. So step number one, verify the cash tendered by the guest. Two, waiter takes bill and cashes to the cashier. Three, cashier returns any change due to the guest with the receipt to the waiter. Four, the waiter verifies the change returned by the cashier. Five, the waiter gets authorized signature from manager or his assistant if applicable. Six, and finally, the waiter returns change receipt to the guest. So these are six steps or six procedures to be taken into consideration when the guest pays in cash. Of course, you might find other procedures or other steps, but I think these are the most important ones. So the waiter always should pay attention so as not to commit any mistake with the guest, because the guest or the customer or the client, as we say, is the boss, is the king. So if you commit a mistake with the guest, he might not never come back or return. So as I said, so the conclusion here, the waiter should pay particular attention. When the guest or when the customer pays by credit card. So number one, request the guest to sign to the check and obtains the credit card. Two, the waiter takes credit card and signed check to the cashier. Three, the cashier checks the credit card for expiration date or expiration date. Four, the cashier obtains approval code. So these four procedures, they are, as we said, as we have seen when we pay in the hotel. So there are some procedures to see if the credit card is valid or not. Because if it's not valid, so you are required, or you would be asked to bring change or call somebody to bring you money if you don't have, to avoid the troubles. Cashier imprints credit card on the respective voucher and the guest check. The cashier lists the amount on the guest check on the credit card voucher and also the guest check number. The cashier returns guest check, credit card, and voucher to the waiter. The waiter presents the guest check, credit card, and the voucher to the guest, requesting his signature on the credit card voucher. The waiter discreetly checks the guest's signature against the signature on the back of the credit card. The waiter returns the credit card to the guest, and finally the waiter gives the guest a copy of the signed credit card voucher to the guest. So these are some of the most preliminary and important procedures and steps to be taken into consideration, to be taken into account when the client or the customer pays by credit card or with the credit card. So as I always say, you as a waiter or a cashier or anybody responsible in that restaurant, you should know if the credit card is valid or not. Otherwise, you are going to pay it from your pocket, and the boss is going to take it away from your salary maybe. When the guest wants to charge to a guest room, if guest wants to pay with his room charge, then politely requests the guest to write the room number and name in the space provided on the check. Request the guest to sign the check on the line provided, and finally verify the check if of its legitibility and return the check to the cashier. Obtain verification of guest's name and room number by requesting the guest for his or her room key and check it with cashier against house list. So this is another different case when the guest wants to charge to guest room. So you should also pay particular attention because this might cause you trouble, especially with your boss or manager. So try to take these steps and tips into consideration, please. So we are done with with the theoretical part. So this practical part, which is related to writing, the first task or the first part, as usual, you are required to rewrite or paraphrase the course in a very coherent and short paragraph. It should be short. And the second task, after you have after you have had full understanding of the lesson, and of course, if you have any question or something which is not clear, you can contact me at any time. Uh, what is your or what would be your favorite method of payment if you go to a certain restaurant? Would you like to pay with the check or with the cash or with credit card? And of course, every the method you choose, you are required kindly and politely to justify why you opted for that method. So the method, as I said, you opted for, try to justify your arguments with what we have seen in the lesson. What are the advantages of that method and what are the disadvantages? And of course, if you are with your family or you are alone, so you try to make things clear, try to make try to make things clear so as to benefit the reader that you are going to read or to maybe to publish your paragraph for. You can mention also if you are going to attend or you are going to eat in a restaurant in Morocco or outside Morocco. So you can mention the details, as I said, because when you read or you publish your paragraph, the reader, the person or the persons who are going to read your paragraph, they might benefit from your experience, and you would be as a resource. So this is the end. I wish you the best of luck. Of course, if you have any questions, as usual, don't hesitate. I wish you the best of luck.